Right now, you're probably warm. You don't even have to think about it. If the air in your house dips below a certain degree, a machine quietly switches on and fixes the problem. For nearly all of human history, winter offered no such comfort. It was a merciless season built to end you. By any biological measure, we are among the worst-equipped large animals on Earth for enduring a brutal freeze. We lack a thick coat of fur, we have no built-in layer of insulating blubber, and we don't have claws to dig our way through the ice. The human body operates as a tropical machine. We evolved in the warm, sun-baked stretches of Africa. Because of that biology, an unprotected human loses body heat incredibly fast in cold conditions. Within hours, hypothermia sets in. Your thoughts slow to a crawl, and your internal organs begin shutting down. When our ancestors pushed out of those warm continents, winter attacked them from 4 directions simultaneously. The freezing cold could finish you off. The lack of shelter left you completely exposed. The frozen land starved you of calories, and the endless black nights wore you down psychologically before the cold even got a chance. So, with no grocery stores and no furnaces, how did people make it through? A fragile, biologically vulnerable species marched straight into some of the harshest environments on the planet and survived. Doing so required some of the most remarkable technological feats we've ever pulled off. Start with the cold itself. Fire is the obvious answer, but fire has a fatal flaw. It only provides heat to the side of you facing the flames. The instant you step away to hunt or gather firewood, the freezing air rushes straight back in. Ancient people needed a way to carry warmth with them. The old assumption was that you simply draped an animal pelt over your shoulders. A loose hide leaves openings everywhere. The moment you move, your arms hang exposed, and the wind slices right through the gaps, draining your body heat. To beat the cold, you stitch hides into fitted shapes. Closed seams seal a permanent pocket of warm air against your skin. This requires a highly precise tool, a bone needle, delicate enough for sinew thread, but sturdy enough to punch through thick hides. The needle and thread acted as the essential wearable technology of the era. They allowed humans to wrap themselves in a private tropical microclimate and walk straight into an ice age. Once you have clothing, you can hunt and move, but as the sun sets and the temperature plunges, you need a place to survive the night. We often imagine humans relying on caves, but a deep, defensible cave is incredibly rare. If you needed a safe place to ride out the winter, you had to build it from scratch. In the treeless, frozen landscapes of regions like modern-day Ukraine, people turned to the one raw material available in massive supply. They moved and stacked the remains of dozens of enormous animals, interlocking heavy jawbones and massive femurs to build wide, dome-shaped structures. Bone doesn't fit together perfectly, so they engineered an insulation system. They stretched animal hides across interior walls, stacked heavy blocks of turf outside, and packed thick snow over the whole thing to trap heat and block freezing air. To survive a merciless wind, our ancestors moved beyond simple windbreaks, designing serious architecture that acted as a complete environmental control system. Even inside a warm shelter, you face the third threat: hunger. Winter completely alters the math of survival. The plants die back, berries vanish, and the land stops feeding you. You must gather enough calories during warm months to survive a season where absolutely nothing grows. This forced ancient humans to develop early food chemistry. By slicing meat incredibly thin and exposing it to sunlight or the low smoke of a fire, they extracted the moisture. Without moisture, the meat couldn't rot, turning a fresh kill into a stable ration lasting months. They also learned to turn the lethal cold to their advantage. By digging deep pits straight into the permafrost, they created natural deep freezers, packing away huge quantities of food securely beneath the frozen earth. Lean meat alone cannot sustain you. Burning massive amounts of energy just to stay warm, you need the densest fuel available: fat. Ancient people rendered animal fat down into a storable, energy-dense substance, combining it with dried meat to pack enormous calories into a highly portable form. The pure, terrifying threat of winter starvation turned hunter-gatherers into masters of long-term planning and preservation. Making it to spring was entirely a matter of calculated, precise hoarding. With food stored and shelter built, you face the final attack, one that targets the mind. The further north you travel, the shorter the days become. You might endure 16 hours of brutal, paralyzing darkness, trapped in a tiny, crowded space while freezing winds howl outside. Instead of waiting in despair, they turned the long night into a workshop, filling the darkness with every task that didn't require daylight. They shaped fresh spear points, mended their clothing, and twisted fibers into tight cord, readying every tool for the eventual spring thaw. Something deeper happened in that confined space. The conversation around a nighttime fire shifts. Practical talk gives way to storytelling, songs, and ritual. The elders pass down hard-won knowledge to the young, preserving a group's collective memory. This enclosure around the fire transformed the long night into a space where myths, songs, and communal knowledge could take root and pass between generations. When you look at the complete picture, winter acted as an intense, demanding evolutionary pressure that forced humanity to become brilliant. The threat of the cold pushed us to invent fitted tailoring. The severe lack of caves drove us to engineer complex architecture. The seasonal death of plant life forced us to master food preservation. And those endlessly dark, freezing nights created the perfect environment to forge a shared culture. But remember, in those ancient days, survival was absolutely never guaranteed. Every single winter was a brutal test that many people failed. Making it through required meticulous preparation, sophisticated skill, and sheer, unwavering stubbornness. Today, we complain when the sun goes down a little too early in December, or when we have to scrape frost off our windshields. We have completely lost the specific dread of watching the first snowfall and wondering if we managed to stockpile enough fat and dried meat to see the spring. You don't survive winter anymore. You barely even register it. That is because over tens of thousands of years, our ancestors, huddling in the dark, figured out how to beat the season, one brilliant invention at a time.